Hello, lighthearted rainbow tribe, where the I is we. We begin our opening into the presence with the light, the expressiveness of being as we are. So giving ourselves that room just come into this moment, the body, the emotions, the mind, all as is. And allowing ourselves to come into contact, not only with ourself as we are, but with the deeper realms of our consciousness. Just letting be. It has come to me today to speak a bit about the power of real prayer. And I'm distinguishing prayer as real prayer as something that is recognized to be quite different than what most people think of as prayer, which is a very kind of superstitious supplication to some magical entity somewhere that's going to do something, to fix something. That is not our essential conversation with our true nature. That's the impoverished being of separation. And that's not who we are. So we can't have real prayer without some conscious contact and recognition of oneness. And it's very important for us very early on, like from the get-go, to be in a place where we are offering out the truth of this oneness in real prayer. We're not all of us perhaps healers. We're not all of us given to go out there and work with people in a direct way. And we are all of us given to give of this that we are in some way. In fact, we will never feel whole or complete without it. And in fact, it actually makes us feel much better, much more right in ourselves when our system is being utilized by the One for the goodness of all. So we are meant to release out the beneficent beingness every day and without ceasing was the encouragement from Jesus. To pray without ceasing. So that's not begging, and that's not using the presence of God to make something happen. It's giving way so that the presence of God may utter its response to what is perceived. It's giving way so that this one, and I'm going to use the word power here, of the almighty, omnipresent, omniscient omnipotence can have its way. The still small voice can shout from the rooftops when this is having its way. And that doesn't mean that we're getting up on our roofs and shouting. We might be. Well, I don't know. That may be what it looks like some days. The power of real prayer is an enlivenment within us of the governing and creative principle of life, expressing itself in us, as us, and through us. That's real prayer, and that's constant. I woke up in the wee hours this morning and recognized I could experience this utilizing my system already, in sleep, in dream, still utilizing my system to express itself in this realm of being. And all that happened was that I came into conscious awareness, and it was going on. But that was all that I recognized. It's like, oh my goodness, this is happening now, here. I see many people on the spiritual journey who recognize that their consciousness, their state of being, has something to do with what's happening in their lives. And the thing is that there's still a little too much self-absorption in fixing ourselves that misses the boat. We're not using the presence to make ourselves or anyone else or anything else better. It's the realization of the truth that becomes active in our consciousness and naturally changes the appearance into what I mentioned in a recent video is better than better. Better than human betterment, better than any of our ideas. I spoke recently about the wells of grief. And certainly human life is quite grievous, especially in these various states of dualistic separation, subject-object relations, the content of most of these videos. And that's the temptation, using that word deliberately, is to try to turn to God so that we stop feeling grief, so that we don't have to feel our grief, so that somehow this magical emanation that we can use our magic words to invoke will make it all better. And what a crisis it is when it doesn't, or when the person that's supposed to be the vehicle for that, the minister, the priest, the guru, the whatever, doesn't do it either. And we recognize that disillusionment of anything external to us is part of our maturing into the realization of who we are in truth. And so if those beings are doing their job well, you'll have experiences of disillusionment. And love and forgiveness, deep understanding after the pain and the grief and the loss of how someone else is letting us down once again, like everyone else has. And then we can notice we even have a great deal of grief that can look like anger and hatred and rage and blowing up, feelings of wanting to be quite destructive. And we see them being played out in the world. We're being quite destructive right now. And supposedly for a beneficial purpose. As if that works. And what needs to be liberated or destroyed is the illusion of separation, not the people that are getting blown up, poisoned. This videoing began at the beginning of this 1 year, 2017, being a 10-1 year. And to give us a whole year to focus on oneness. What does that really mean? And when there is one power, one creative and governing principle in life, which means that these powers of the earth that seem like powers to us, the power of the body to get sick, the power of medicine to heal or not heal, the power of the government to do this X, Y, and Z. When you recognize that God isn't in that, God takes no pleasure in our dying, our destructiveness, our being poisoned and made sick, and there's no governing principle of the presence involved in any of that. We're given a beautiful, incredibly wonderful planet to provide us with everything that we need for a good, healthy, and flourishing life. And we're making a crap heap out of it as a reflection of our inner feeling of crapitude. And that's part of what gets discovered in the depth of the ego. In the places where we lost contact in very painful ways. One of the ways to support us to be foundationally sound in our lives is to give way to the inner presence, such that we hear the still small voice, we're listening to it, we're obeying it. And that seems like a separation word, and certainly in certain stages, obeying is part of it. But when we recognize that it's our own voice, not our selfish voice, although it does include our human voice, it is the one voice voicing itself in us, expressing itself, and responding to itself, always, ceaselessly, endlessly. It has no other way of being. This we are has no other way of being. And so when we function in accord with that, we have an inner support. And so meditation, be still, prayer is a very important part of our everyday life until we begin to recognize its functionality as our functionality. So at first we're cultivating what's necessary for this radical shift in consciousness. And we're doing that by offering out a blessing into the world. Not by I've got to fix myself. Not by I've got to fix or change the situations in the world, but by the realization of what it is that does the works. The realization of the governing principle of what does the works. Now it's very interesting, whatever we think about our forefathers and foremothers in this country of the United States, they had a spiritual life, and they had different religions that they practiced. But there's a reason that one nation under God, there's a recognition that there is a governing principle, and it's known in most Western religion languages as some form of the word God. Jehovah, Yod-He-Vod-He, the unnameable, Allah. And some religions have a lot of names. They're describing different functionings and different aspects of the being that they have found to be infinite. One, not two. Indivisible. Completely free. And wholly involved and engaged in writing itself and bringing itself in form into accord and concert with itself. It's liberty and justice. And it's for everyone. It's no respecter of persons. It doesn't care. It doesn't matter who you are, what religion you're practicing, where you live, how intelligent you are, or what your IQ is, or, what station in life you find yourself in. That's the nature of oneness and unity, that there's only one of us here. And to be in conscious union with that is the radical shift in consciousness that's called for in order for our world to come into accord with the truth. That's what's required. And it's required of each and every one of us. One of the things that I love about the beginning of the Course in Miracles, this is a required course. It's not about proselytizing. Real prayer is not about trying to convince anybody of anything. And it's not about utilizing the presence to fix things the way we think they ought to be. It's about giving way such that this can respond spontaneously, surprisingly, perfectly. And give itself forth through our transparency, ceaselessly. So this lighthearted living mystery, as the rainbow emanation tribe of this being, is the invitation. Available every moment, as we are, utilizing our current experience as the opening that allows the presence of this creative life principle to unfold itself, embrace and unify itself, uplift itself into the truth. As always, I'm wishing you all the blessings of this original source of our being that are so available to the open, receptive, empty vessels that we are. Until we meet again in the heart of this living truth. Be well.